So let's have a little chat, shall we? Where's my water at? Where's my fucking water? Here it is. So something just came to me not that long ago. But before I get into that, the point of the video or the topic of the video is me decoding Rosemary's Baby, the movie that came out back in the 60s. Again, I like going back to the past in order for me to understand not just what's going on around me, but understanding self and how that connects to self, inner self enlightenment, because it's all about yourself. It's not about, outside of you. That's the facade, that's the trick, that's the distraction. Yeah, we have to pay attention to what goes on outside of us as well, but the distraction is to keep you defocused, not focused, but defocused off of yourself. Because the Baphomet is all about self enlightenment and inner knowledge. That's what the Baphomet is about. So, anyway, before I get into that, there's something else I wanted to touch on right quick. Faye Dunaway and Jessica Lange. Faye Dunaway played Joan Crawford in the movie Mommy Dearest, which was based loosely off of the book. I don't think that the entire movie was entirely based off of the book because I read the book and there were a lot of things that were left out of the movie that were in the book. Let me just say that. A lot of people have said throughout time that Faye Dunaway is a hard person or a difficult actress. Even Betty Davis said that ironically. But the reason that Faye Dunaway is the way that she is because after she played the role of Joan Crawford, and even before, because they were gearing her up. They probably did a lot of rituals and shit against on her. They were gearing her up to be the next Joan Crawford of her generation. So because of that, and because of the type of person that Joan Crawford was, based upon what we learned about her from her adoptive daughter Christina Crawford, based upon that, Faye Dunaway took on that energy. See, actors are channelers, okay? So basically, what happened was Faye Dunaway took on Joan Crawford's energy. Once she took on Joan Crawford's energy, that caused her career to go down the tubes because she channeled that energy, or that energy was put on her, and now that energy it's basically become part of her. So now it has affected her career, it has affected her relationships. She was recently just fired not that long ago from some play called Tea Time at 3 or Tea Time at 5 or some shit like that, based upon something that had to do with Katharine Hepburn. I don't know. But she was recently fired for being difficult and doing things on the set that were just not right, or whatever the case may be. But the point that I'm making is this: the reason that Faye Dunaway and Jessica Lange both, because Jessica Lange played Joan Crawford too, and I foresaw that she was going to. The reason that both of them are having such a hard time is because Joan Crawford's energy is attached to them and they can't shake it. They cannot, because actors are channelers. Faye Dunaway and Jessica Lange both are channelers. They are channelers. Okay? They are channelers. So therefore, they channeled her energy, and now it is becoming difficult to rid themselves of that energy. And that is why they are having the turmoil that they're having in their careers, especially Faye Dunaway. Especially Faye Dunaway, because this energy, Joan Crawford's energy, has been attached to her for a very long time, even long before she played Mommy Dearest. Even long before she played, rather, Joan Crawford in the movie Mommy Dearest. So with that being said, that people say, well, Faye Dunaway is difficult, or she's this, or she's that. Well, there's a reason for that, and I'm not a big, I do like some of Faye Dunaway's movies. I do like some of her movies. I can't say that I'm not a fan of hers because I am, but I'm not doing it from that aspect. I'm looking at it from an occult aspect and from a spiritual aspect. I see what the fuck is going on now, and I didn't peep it at first. But what really made me pay attention was when I went back and rewatched old episodes, and this is where Jessica Lange comes in. We're done with Faye Dunaway. Joan Crawford's spirit or energy is still attached to her. That is why her career went down the toilet. We're speaking about Faye Dunaway. Because she can't get that energy off of her. She probably needs to go to a spiritualist to have them remove that energy from her. The same thing with Jessica Lange. I recently went back and rewatched old episodes of American Horror Story, the Murder House. I wasn't always a fan of the Murder House, but I went back, rewatched it, and I'm hooked. And I like to look at it to try to decode it, see the occult symbolism and shit that's in it as well. What I've noticed is that Jessica Lange, she played Constance Langdon in season one. She played it in season one, of course. And then they brought her back in season eight. Now, in between that, I remember when I saw her in The Coven, when she played Fiona Good, there was something very Joan Crawford-esque about her energy. Because again, actors and actresses are channelers. They can channel, or the energy is put on them, okay, to play certain characters, especially biographical, movies and stuff like that. So when I saw her in Murder House season one and her portrayal of Constance Langdon, it's a totally different energy from when she played Constance in season eight. You feel what I'm saying? Constance in season eight. Now, in between this is where I was going to go. In between all of that, remember Jessica Lange also played Joan Crawford in the series Feud, created by the same creator, Ryan Murphy of American Horror Story. He created Feud as well. Jessica Lange played Joan Crawford in Feud, but she played a different aspect of Joan Crawford than Faye Dunaway. It was two totally different aspects of her, but nevertheless, she played Joan Crawford too. And I began to notice changes in Jessica Lange's behavior and her patterns. Okay? Jessica Lange herself even said that it was hard for her to shake or get rid of Joan Crawford's energy. She said this in an interview. And I can see that as a spiritualist, I can see what's going on with her. Because I remember she did a table interview where it was her, Oprah Winfrey, and a whole bunch of other actresses talking about their experiences as an actress and how Hollywood is still maybe sexist and stuff like that. This was about a year or so ago, and she was very uncomfortable. You can tell that there was something going on with her. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with Jessica Lange? And I am a Jessica Lange fan. I can say that outright. I'm a big motherfucking Jessica Lange fan. Love her talent. Love her fucking movies. Okay? Loved her in American Horror Story, by the way. I noticed that her behavior had changed. And I didn't get it then. But now I get it. She too is having an issue getting rid of Joan Crawford's energy. So that makes two actresses who have played her who are having similar issues. Okay? When they brought Jessica Lange's character back in season eight, Constance Langdon, her season one character, when they brought her back for season eight, The Apocalypse. Now remember, she had just finished a year prior, maybe not even a year. She had just finished playing Joan Crawford in Feud. which was basically about Joan Crawford's beef or rivalry with Betty Davis when they both played in the movie Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. I think all gay men like Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. I don't care what nobody say. But anyway, when they brought her back to play Constance in season 8, I noticed a change, a drastic change in her appearance and her energy and how she acted. That was not Constance Langdon. That was motherfucking Joan Crawford. Let me say that again. That was not Constance Langdon. That was Joan Crawford. I'm going to tell you something. Go back to season 3. Go back to season 3 when she played Fiona Good. I saw the Joan Crawford energy in her then. They were ritualizing Jessica Lange to play Joan Crawford way back during the coven of American Horror Story. Now, personally, what I think they should have done, they probably should have combined and just made American. They should have made they should have made a season of American Horror Story entitled Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. They should have done that. That would have been a hell of a motherfucking season. They could have brought on Susan Sarandon, had the same motherfucking cast, or they could have just, that they had in Feud, or they could have just, named it American Horror Story Hollywood or Old Time Hollywood, some shit like that. I don't know. But when she came back in season 8 of American Horror Story, The Apocalypse, that was not Constance Langdon. That was Joan Crawford. How she spoke, her mannerisms, how she talked, how she moved, even the way she smoked her cigarette. But back to season 3 for a minute. I'm sorry, I'm going all over the place. Back to season 3, The Coven. Remember, Fiona Good had a very tumultuous relationship with her daughter, Cordelia. And if you really examine their relationship, it was similar to the Christina Crawford relationship that she had with her adoptive mother, Joan Crawford. It was very similar in nature. I bet you a lot of people didn't peep that. But they were preparing her to play Joan Crawford in American Horror Story, The Coven. Because Joan Crawford was a witch too. She wasn't as powerful as Betty Davis. Betty Davis was a witch also. Betty Davis, her bloodline actually comes from the Salem witches, the ones who betrayed Tituba, the black witch that taught them everything. But that's another motherfucking story. In season 8, after Feud, when they brought Jessica Lange back, you can tell in her energy that energy of Joan Crawford, that her spirit was still with her. You can see it. Because I was like, something is off. Something is really, really, really off about Jessica Lange's energy. And now I get it. And when you really examine what's going on with Faye Dunaway, and when you examine what's going on with Jessica Lange, the common denominator is Joan Crawford and her spirit and her motherfucking energy. That's what's going on. Okay? And I just wanted to put that out there because it was on my mind. Okay? Now I want to move on. Rosemary's Baby. Now, they had two versions of Rosemary's Baby. The original version, and they did an updated version with what's her name, the actress that played Nina Simone, and everybody was so upset about that. I can't think of her name. She's very pretty, brown skinned actress. I was getting ready to, Zoe Zeldana, I think that's her name. She played in the updated version of Rosemary's Baby, and I find that very interesting that they chose a woman of color. See, y'all missed that. Y'all missed that. They chose a woman of color to portray Rosemary. That's interesting. They were trying to tell you something in that. They couldn't have no black woman doing that back in the 1960s, because probably a lot of black actresses would not have played that role. But there's a lot of symbolism in that. that they chose a black woman to play the mother of this satanic baby. So Rosemary was impregnated by Satan, basically. Satan fucked Rosemary, and basically she got pregnant with the Antichrist. And I've told you all who the Antichrist is. The Antichrist is black people. That's our energy. And they have masked it with fear and called it Antichrist and, the beast and all that shit, everything that they refer to us as. That they're talking about us and our genetics. But one thing that what really came to me while I was in the kitchen actually cooking, what came to me is that, remember at the end of the movie, at first Rosemary was tormented. She didn't know what was happening to her. She thought there were devil worshippers living next door to her, which there were, and she thought they were just the most horrible people, et cetera, and all this other bullshit. She was really driving herself mad. She was driving herself insane. And what I really realized was that, examining it when I look at it now, her ego was fighting for survival. Her ego was fighting for survival, for the reality and world that it had become comfortable in living in. See, her giving birth to that satanic baby, the Antichrist, is symbolic of the subconscious mind waking back up and taking back control. Because remember, at the end of the movie, once Rosemary, when she delivered the baby, once she delivered the baby, and once the baby was delivered or whatever, once she had the baby, however you want to say it, once she delivered that baby and started to embrace it, her child, her life got a whole lot better. Now, they didn't really show that in the original one. They went a little bit further in the updated version or the remake of Rosemary's Baby with Zoe Saldana, however you pronounce her name. I don't care if I'm not pronouncing it right. Um, they went a lot further, and they showed that once Zoe Saldana's character Rosemary embraced her baby and embraced, raising him, everything started to really level out for her. Everything really started to, stabilize in her life. So basically, symbolically, what they're talking about is when you get back in touch with your subconscious mind, which all of us need to do, myself included. We all lost down in this motherfucker, and our ego is running everything. You can't eradicate the ego completely, but once there's a balance between your subconscious and your ego, then everything will begin to stabilize and harmonize in your life. The fear, the self doubt, the poverty, misery, unhappiness, all of that stuff will begin to balance out. So once Rosemary, that baby represented the subconscious mind. So once she gave birth to that baby and began to embrace it, she was actually embracing her subconscious mind. She was actually getting back in touch with her subconscious mind, because once she began to embrace it, the fear went away. All the sadness and panic went away once she began to embrace her subconscious mind, which that baby was a symbol of that. Okay? And that's basically all I wanted to say. I just wanted to point that out because that came to me, and that really speaks volumes about what we're going through as black people. Our ego is in full control. Our ego is in full control. That's why we have all the fear, self-doubt, myself included. Um, you know, all of that shit. All of that shit, because the ego is in survival mode, and it's trying to keep us thinking in a certain way or keep us living in a certain way. But once we get in contact with our subconscious mind, or once we start to really um, merge our subconscious mind with the ego, while we're here, at least in the physical realm, there will be a harmonic balance between both. And that's what happened to Rosemary, especially in the updated version. They showed you once she embraced her baby, she was happy, she had money, she was doing the damn thing. Once she embraced the Antichrist, and I've told you all, the Antichrist is symbolic of the subconscious mind, Cthulhu, and all of that. So I just wanted to come through and say that because that was on my mind. And now I'm going to finish cooking my motherfucking dinner. Y'all have a good day.